Merry meet. As witches, we're all about intention. We create intentions for our spells and our rituals, but how often do we focus on the intention of self love? And while it's easy to kind of brush that intention off and instead focus on the intentions we think are more important, we'd be wise to focus on the intention of self love every once in a while. And that's because our magic and our spells and our rituals and everything we do as witches are influenced by the way that we feel. And that includes the way we feel about ourselves. So, in tonight's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 8 practices that you can add into your already existing practice to bring the intention of self love in. So, merry meet. I'm Aislin. This is Ask Aislin. And I'm here tonight talking about the intention of self love. So, welcome to those who are joining us. And if you are here with us live, drop into the chat and say hi or leave a thumbs up or a heart, and that just makes sure we get this out to the feed of more people. All right, so I'm just going to dive right in and start talking about 8 different practices and rituals and spells that you can do for self love intention. So, the first one is to work with gods and goddesses that are connected to the idea of love. And so, this is something that people often forget when they're working with self love. They forget about the gods and goddesses that we can use as well. Because a lot of the time, we think that gods and goddesses of love are based on romantic love. And while that is true, and we can use them for spells that we're doing to draw in love into our lives, they can also be used in our self love rituals as well. So, a few that come to mind to me, I'm going to start by talking about Aphrodite and Venus. So, I worked exclusively with them when I first started my practice over 25 years ago. And my practice during that time, I was in a part of my life when I was looking to draw in love, and so these deities naturally made sense. But as I worked with them, I began to notice that I also could use them to instill that same feeling of love for myself. So, great deities to work with: Aphrodite, or the Roman variation Venus. Frigga and Freya from the Norse pantheon are also great goddesses of love that can be used in self love rituals. I really like Hathor as well from the Egyptian pantheon. She's all about pleasure and self love and love. And so she can be a great one. And we're going to talk a little bit later about self massage and abhyanga massage and some trigger points that we can use in our self love massage. And she's a great deity to kind of aid you in that kind of work, anything that is drawing in pleasure into your lives. Ishtar is another good one, Astarte. And while most of these goddesses are connected to sexuality and sensuality as well, if you are trying to find more compassion for yourself, I highly recommend the goddess Kuan Yin. So, Kuan Yin is the goddess of mercy and compassion, and she's also connected to the heart chakra, which we'll also be talking about tonight. Now, she can help us transcend any negative thoughts that we have about ourselves, which is why she is so valuable in practice, especially if you're finding that you have some negative thoughts and you're finding self love as an intention that's you have a little bit of resistance towards, or it doesn't come easy for you. She's a very patient and loving goddess, which makes her easy to work with for beginners as well. So anybody who's not really worked with deity before will often find Kuan Yin very, very accessible. So if you work with deity in general in your practice, I would consider adding in a goddess of love when you're bringing in your self-love intentions and practices. So either Kuan Yin or one of the others I mentioned, or just Google goddesses of love, gods of love. Pick one that seems to resonate with you. You can add this deity to your team of deities that you regularly work with, and you will likely see some real shifts in the way that you feel about yourself. So that is idea number 1, adding in gods and goddesses of love into your practices. And just saying hi to those who are joining us. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Carla and Jenny. I see you guys are all in the chat. So I'm going to go on now to idea number 2. So this one is to work with the heart chakra. Now, the heart chakra is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual and allows us to transcend any negative emotions or feelings that we might have. Now, the idea with the heart chakra is that of all the chakras, it has this vast a vastness to it. And I like to think of it as like the ocean. You know, the ocean is finite, but in our perspective, to our perspective, it seems infinite, right? And that's the same as the idea of the energy of the heart chakra. So if you have unkind thoughts about yourself, or if you have, self-deprecating thoughts, or just not feeling good about yourself, try really breathing into the expansiveness of the heart chakra and allow those feelings to be engulfed by that energy, and kind of think of it like that ocean, right? So if we have a drop of water that we drop into the ocean, in just a moment that's going to be completely engulfed by the ocean, and we won't know the difference between that drop of water and the vastness of the ocean around it. So the same thing is true of the heart chakra. If we drop a negative thought and we truly breathe it into the heart chakra, into that space, it's like the ocean. It will just engulf the thought, and we can let it just dissipate away. So what I like to do is to close my eyes and really get into kind of a light meditative state, and then breathe deeply. And as you breathe deeply, draw that negative thought into your heart. And so what often will happen is that when we are faced with negative things, we tend to clutch up and we tend to push them away. But if instead we draw them in and we allow the heart to kind of wash that away, we're going to have a totally different experience of it. So this is a practice I've been using a lot for many years. You know, I'm very sensitive. I always have been. And so it's not just about necessarily negative thoughts about ourselves. It can be negative thoughts about anything. And, try this technique and really see what happens when you kind of lean into the feeling and then draw it into the heart and let the heart simply transmute it. Now, other ways that you can work with the heart chakra for a self-love practice would be bringing in certain colors into your daily life or into your rituals. So the color green is associated with the heart chakra, and the color pink is also associated with the heart chakra. So you can bring those colors in. If you can set up even a self-love altar to yourself and put a green altar cloth or a pink altar cloth on it. Symbols of the kind of love that you want to bring in, you want to draw in. You can do yoga and meditation for the heart chakra as well. That would be very good for working through the intention of self-love. Now, I really love the mudra, Garuda mudra. Garuda is the eagle god of the Hindu pantheon. And this mudra is especially great for amplifying the energy of the heart, for balancing the energy of the heart. So what you do, very simple mudra, you take the palm of the right hand, you're going to place it over the back of the left hand. And then you will just interlock your thumbs like this. And so you'll have your fingers out on either side, kind of splayed out. And they're like the wings of the eagle god. And then you can just bring this mudra to your heart. And so any of these practices, so like I was just talking about the breathing, the negative emotions into the heart space, you can do this mudra while you're doing that meditation. Or you can do this mudra during any meditation you're doing, or just simply to kind of balance the heart chakra. Another thing you can do is bring in the seed sound yum. So this is spelled Y-A-M, but it's pronounced yum. And this is um, a great seed sound for the heart space. So think about doing that. And whenever we're doing seed sounds, so seed sounds are syllables that not only contain meaning, but they also contain the potential to change the energy in the body. So when we intone any one of those, we immediately are drawing it to that space where that energy is, and we are transforming that energy. So we like to chant our seed sounds kind of low in the body. So yum. So we don't want to have it really high up in the chest or the head, but kind of low. Yum. And so go ahead and try that and see how that feels. Okay, so that is idea number 2, which is working with the heart chakra. Okay, so idea number 3 is practicing kundalini exercises that work with the heart space. So one of these is, this is an exercise. I don't know specifically if this exercise has a name or not. So I usually just call this like bringing energy. I usually call it transforming the energy of the heart, or this is an energy balancing practice for the heart. So one thing about the heart chakra is that it's very much connected to our arms. And so if we spread our arms out wide like this, anything we're doing with the arms is going to help with the heart chakra to begin with. And so in this practice, you will spread out your arms wide like this, and then go ahead and bring your right hand into the heart. And you don't have to touch the body, you're just going to hover it right above the heart space. And you'll look to the left. You can look to your thumb on the left hand. And you're going to inhale here. And then as you exhale, bring the left hand to the heart space again, extend the right hand and look towards the right thumb on the exhale. And then we're just going to go back and forth like that. Inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. And eventually it will look something like this. And so what I recommend is that people do that I do that for up to like 2 or 3 minutes at a time, and then sit with that. And what you will notice, so this is very good for kind of working through disappointment, other negative emotions that we have, anything that, those kind of negative emotions and trauma, they accumulate as blockages in certain parts of the body, and that are going to create an issue in the heart. And so when we start to move these exercises, we do these exercises, we start to move that energy, move that stuck and stagnant energy. And this is a very good one too, because not only is it good for the heart, it's really good for taking energy in. So one thing about the heart chakra is that it's not just about giving, it's also about taking in. And so for some of us, we struggle with that. And so this exercise, even though it doesn't feel like you're doing very much, it can be very good for being open to receiving and taking things in. And it's also very good for manifestation. So great exercise to try. Like I said, I do that for about 3 or so minutes and see how you feel. And you can work up to 5 minutes. And one added benefit of it as well is if you do it, there's a period of time when I've done this like every single day for about 3 or 4 minutes at a time. And you really actually start to strengthen your upper arms. You'll be surprised how quickly that happens. And one thing to note is that when you do start doing this, at first, you may notice that your arms get really tired. And so I recommend with any kundalini energy exercise, that is the point behind it. You will get into a state of kind of feeling uncomfortable, and we want that. And you want to kind of push through that feeling. One of my teachers says, keep up and you will be kept up. And what she means by that is don't give up on the exercise. Just try to push through it. It's only 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever you've set the timer for. But if you keep up, you'll be kept up. You'll find the way to push through the exercise. And then once you get through it, you're going to feel so good about it. And you'll be able to face it the next day. And you'll strengthen your arms and you'll strengthen your heart chakra. And so just an overall great exercise. Okay, so that is idea number 3, using kundalini energy exercises to move the energy of the heart. And that's just one exercise I showed you. But you can also Google others for heart chakra moving kundalini energy exercises. Okay, idea number 4 is to do a self-love spell. So I'm going to share with you a really nice self-love spell here. And so this one is called the birthday candle spell. Now, see, the idea behind this is we do spells for all kinds of different intentions, right? So why not do one for self-love? And so this great one is the birthday candle spell, and it's so simple. All you need is a birthday candle, and you can pick any color you want. I would suggest red or pink, or if you want to do like heart chakra, green, and some essential oil or more that are connected to the heart chakra. So I would recommend rose, hard to find real rose oil. Most of what you're going to find is synthetic, but Lang Lang is very good. Jasmine, sandalwood, excellent for the heart chakra. Orange or bergamot, I love that for heart as well. So you're going to get an oil and your candle, and then I would grab a piece of rose quartz or some other stone that's either green or pink and is connected to the heart. And that is all you need to begin. You'll want to anoint yourself with the oil. And so what I like to do is I like to actually anoint my chakras. So I would do the crown and then the third eye and then the throat and the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root is kind of hard to anoint, but you could just kind of draw the energy down into the root. And and then you can anoint the candle as well with that same oil. And hold your stone in your hand as you do this. And then I would light the candle and just think about all the things that you love about yourself. And this can be kind of challenging, especially if you're in kind of a darker place and it's hard to think about those things. And so, if those negative thoughts make their way into this practice, then try to find a way to turn them into a positive thought. And all this can be so simple. It's just literally negating what you just said. So if you said I'm not good at blank, then you're just going to say I am good at blank. And it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, because that's what the magic is. That's what the practice is if we do it enough, we eventually come to believe it. And it really does work. The heart chakra is very close to our solar plexus, which is our site for our center of self-belief. So when we activate the heart, we're going to activate the solar plexus by default as well. So that element of self-belief will also get strengthened through a practice like this. But any negative thoughts that float in, find a way to just simply negate them, even if it's just literally changing one word, and you don't have to believe it. And so you're going to sit with the candle until it burns out. And the beautiful part about using the birthday candle is that a birthday candle will burn out in about 10 minutes. So there you're sitting there and you have this nice little practice for 10 minutes. And and it's just a great little spell to use any time that you kind of need a pick me up or you just need to foster some self love. And I haven't mentioned this yet. We're recording this on Valentine's Day, and I know I see posts where people are like, I hate Valentine's Day, and it's a commercialized holiday. It literally has nothing to the origins of it literally have nothing to do with what we've come to have it be about. But it is a time that allows us to kind of pause and think about the idea and the intention of love. And so, why not turn that intention onto ourselves? It's just a perfect day to pamper ourselves, to do some self love spells, to really think about the intention of self love. Now, there's also a book, and I meant to bring it off the bookshelf and show it here. There's an author, her name is Titania Hardy. Last name is Hardie. She writes some very beautiful books. One of them is called, I'm looking at, I think it's called Love Magic. But she has a whole series of them, and they're very beautiful. They have like these velvet covers. And in the Love Magic one, she has a lot of spells for attracting mates and different things like that. But she also has a section on self love. So if you're into spell books, I recommend Titania's books. The spells are a little, I don't want to say they're complicated, but sometimes they call for some intricate ingredients, which you can just swap out. I always tell people to, kind of use your intention, see if you can get the ingredients. But if there's things that you feel could be replacements, or maybe you Google and you learn about a replacement for a certain ingredient, you can replace that. But book is very beautiful, has some beautiful photography in it, and I highly recommend that book if you're interested in love spells and also self-love spells. Okay, so that's idea number 4 is perform a self-love spell. Okay, idea number 5 is practicing self-massage. So we love massage. Most people love it. Not everybody does, but a lot of people love it. And a lot of people feel like they wish they could have more, but it's expensive, right? And so we can't always afford to get massages as often as we want. So what we can do is we can practice our own massage, and it can be a really nice self-love ritual for ourselves. So I'm going to explain a couple of different ideas for this. The first one is Abhyanga. So this is spelled Abhyanga, Abhyanga. So this is a type of self-massage where you essentially get some kind of a carrier oil. I like sweet almond oil, and put a couple of drops of essential oil into it if you'd like it to be scented. So some of those oils I mentioned earlier, ylang ylang, sandalwood, jasmine, bergamot, put some couple of drops into the oil. And then usually what you want to do is you want to warm the oil up. So what I have done is I put it in I fill the sink with hot water in the bathroom, and then I put a bowl of the oil in the sink, and it just warms it up enough. And then put your essential oils in it, and then you're basically going to do a full body massage. So I would recommend just take your clothes off, and you can massage everything, including your head. I usually don't because I don't like oil in my hair, but you can massage your entire body and just take time with that. And it is a beautiful self-care practice because you're really paying attention to yourself. But the other benefit behind it is that it moves the lymph in the body, and so it can be very, very healing. And so there's some people who do it every single day. I don't have time to do that every single day. But if you do that once a week or every couple of weeks, and just take that time out, and maybe do it before your shower, because you could just do the massage for like 10 minutes, let the oil kind of soak into your skin, and then jump into the shower and wash it off. But really beautiful practice, Abhyanga massage. Now, I also wanted to share with you a couple of acupressure points that are excellent for the heart chakra and therefore for our intention of self love. So, the first one that I'm going to share with you is called Ren 17. Now, this one is it is located above the sternum, so you have to go and find your sternum, right, which is the place where the rib cage comes together right in the front. You'll find that spot, and then you're going to just go up just a little bit until you find a tender spot, the most tender spot. So it's going to be on your breastbone, and for many people, it's going to be just like about a finger width or so above the sternum. You're going to find that kind of sore spot. Okay, so if you do this with me right now, you're probably going to find it. You're going to be like, ooh, and that's it. You found it. Okay, so this spot, so what you do is it's not difficult at all. And because your finger is so thick compared to like an acupuncture needle, you don't have to be as accurate as you'd have to be like an acupuncturist would have to be to get the exact spot, because your finger is pretty wide. So, as long as you find that little tender spot, you're on it. Now, what I would do is I would begin to just massage this lightly, but hard enough that you're feeling it. So it should feel a little tender. There should be a little bit of discomfort in it, and you're going to massage this for, I would say, about a minute is what I would do. And I do like little circular motions as I'm massaging it. Now, this pot, not only is it good for the heart chakra and our intention of self-love, but it also settles the heart. So if you're having like emotions that are feeling like kind of amplified, that it will settle some of those emotions. But physically, this point also helps to alleviate anxiety and to open the chest. And it can alleviate breathing difficulties. So if you have asthma like I do, try this point. It's very, very good. And they say in Chinese medicine that it lightens a heavy heart. So anybody who has the heavier emotions of the heart, Ren 17, right here, just about an inch above the sternum on the breastbone. And now the second one I'm going to share with you is called Lung 2. It has the name the cloud gate because basically it disperses the clouds of the heart. Now this one's also very easy to find. You're going to go into the clavicle here. So basically the technical location is the acromial end of the clavicle. I learned this during anatomy in my yoga training. And but really what it is just this space where the little kind of V space where the shoulder and the arm meet. Okay, and so you're to put your finger right up in there, and then just kind of play around with the area until you find the most tender spot in this area, and then you're going to do the same thing. So you'll just begin to massage that lightly, and for some people, this one's really tender. Okay, so you want to use enough pressure that you can get some kind of an effect here. Now, this will relieve coughing and asthma as well, so it has great physical benefits to those who are having trouble breathing. But like I said, it also disperses the clouds of the heart, so very good for depression, depressed thoughts, kind of negative thoughts about ourselves. It also helps with grief. So if you're going through any grief, try this spot as well. I would do this for about a minute or so, and if you do that and then do the other Ren 17 on the sternum, what a great little practice to just kind of balance the heart and would be great for bringing in the intention of self-love. Okay, so that's idea number 4, using self-massage. Now, idea number 5 is mirror work. Now, this one's a little bit challenging for some people. So just, if you think it's going to be challenging for you, I would try to go slow with it. Other people kind of dive in and they don't really have much trouble with it. So you can do affirmations in the mirror. And you can look affirmations up. So you can just Google affirmations for the heart chakra is what I would Google. And you'll find long lists of different affirmations. Or you can go ahead and make them up. And so, what I suggest if you're going to make up your own affirmations is really spend some time thinking and paying attention to your thoughts for like a day. And what you're going to notice is that you have a lot of thoughts that are pretty negative, and you have a lot of thoughts that are pretty useless. A lot of our thoughts are kind of irrelevant to anything going on, and we also know that our thoughts are very fleeting, like our emotions. They're not us, they're just there. They pass in and out like the wind. But pay attention to them for about a day and write down any of the negative ones that seem to be making their way into your mind. Or you may already know what your negative thoughts are, in which case, just simply write those down. And then what you'll do is you're going to negate them. So you're just going to change them into a positive. And sometimes that can be just as simple as like what I did earlier, where like, I'm not good at this. I am good at this. And just fill in the blank with whatever this is. But you can also get elaborate with them. But just whatever it is, take the negative thoughts and make them positive thoughts in some way, and then use those for your affirmations. Now, I would recommend going slow and being gentle with the practice, especially if you find mirror work to be difficult. And you can get a special, you can use the bathroom mirror if you want, or get a special mirror. Like I got this one at IKEA. And so for a couple of dollars, this is a great one. Oh, look at behind us. We can see the bookcase in front of us. Um, but a great one. And then you would just gaze into the mirror and then try to make eye contact with yourself if you can, or you can look away, but you gaze into the mirror and then you repeat the affirmations. And you can make like a nice little practice of this. You can also stack some of these practices. So let's say maybe you're going to do the massage in the bathroom, right? And so you do your massage, and then you could do your affirmations, and maybe you could do the birthday candle spell, and you could make yourself a nice little ritual out of stacking some of these practices. Um, so that is mirror work. I highly recommend it. You can just do it for just a tiny bit to test it out. Some people find it very, very helpful. But if you do find it really difficult, I recommend challenging yourself, kind of pushing through it, because oftentimes the most difficult things are the things that we need the most. Okay, that's idea number 6, is practicing mirror work with affirmations. Number 7 is creating a self-love elixir. Now, this can be as simple as taking juice or any beverage, water, anything you want, wine, whatever it is you want, and just infusing it with the energy of love. You can just hold the cup in your hand and send the intentions of love and kindness into that beverage, and then drink it. And that can be as simple as that is like the simplest way to make a love elixir like that. But here I'm going to give you a nice little recipe for one if you want to be a little bit more elaborate with it. So you're going to get water and cinnamon sticks, a glass jar, and a marker. So very simple ingredients. Now what I would do is, before you begin making the elixir, come up with a symbol that represents self-love for you. So it could be a heart, it could be anything, a flower, a butterfly. It could be a sigil that you make. So perhaps you take one of the affirmations, like I am full of love, or I fully love myself, and make a sigil out of that, and then put the symbol onto the jar. Um, it could be anything like that. So it could be, or you could even just literally write an intention on the jar if you like. But the idea here is that you're doing something a little bit special with the jar, so that, we set it aside as being something special. And so then what you're going to do next is you'll boil some water. And when the water begins to boil, we put the water on the stove, and when it begins to boil, turn the heat off and drop some cinnamon sticks into the water. And so for about every 8 ounces of water you have, drop in 1 stick. And then you're going to let that steep for about 10 minutes, and then pour the water into the jar. And here now you have your elixir. And then so what I recommend it, as you drink it, just really take in the sacredness of it. This isn't just a regular drink you've made. You've infused it with intention. And you're going to take in the energy. And as you do that, as you drink the elixir, just imagine that energy permeating every cell of your body. And you can do this practice as often as you like. But we do know that our intentions change the structure of things around us. We know that they change our energy, but we also there's some anecdotal evidence and a little bit of other evidence that suggests that it can also change the physical structure of things. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities that our intentions can change water. And so think about just the idea of prayer, right? People who pray over food, it's really from a perspective of a witch, it's like infusing it with intention. So why can't we infuse this elixir that we drink with the intention of self-love, and therefore take that intention in as we consume it? Okay, so that is idea number 7, creating a self-love elixir. And then finally, idea number 8 is working with meditation. And in particular, I'm going to share with you the loving kindness meditation. So I don't think we can go wrong with this meditation. I recommend this meditation to everybody because not only does it help you, but it helps other people, and it also helps the world in general. So in order to perform the loving kindness meditation, you get into a meditative state, and it can just be a light one. So literally, and this practice, you could do this during shavasana of a yoga practice even. So just a light meditative state. And then what you're going to do is you're going to send the idea, the intention of love and kindness to a series of people. And so usually the first person that you send it to is someone you know who needs some love and kindness. Okay, so just think about someone in your life who's going through something, and you're just going to use the power of your intention to send them that energy. And you can even in your mind's eye, or you can just imagine this happening or sense this happening, sense them receiving the energy. Maybe you even see them receiving it and them smiling. And so you start with that first step. So sending the love and kindness to someone you know who needs it. And then in the second step, you send love and kindness to someone who you don't know, but you think who needs it. And so I like to think about people that I've met just out and about in the day. So like maybe a clerk at a store who looked like they were having a bad day, or maybe like a customer was being mean to them, right? And you later on you can add them into your meditation, send them that energy. Or just a person that you passed on the street that just you got the sense that they had a heavy heart. You don't need to know their name, you don't need to know where they are. You just in this meditation, you'll just imagine sending that energy to the person. And again, you can even imagine them receiving it. And then for the third person, this one's a little bit challenging sometimes, is we're going to send energy, love and kindness, to a person who we are in a conflict with, or who we're having problems with. And now, so we're not, when we do this, we're not saying, oh, I forgive this person. That's not what it's about. We're not saying, oh, it's okay what they're doing. We're not like making amends here. That's not necessarily what any of this is about. It's just simply adding a little bit of extra kindness and love into the world, into the situation between the two of you. So you'll do that. So send it to someone who you're having, some kind of a struggle or a problem with. And then the fourth person you send the energy to is yourself. And so this one can also be a struggle for people, which is why it's the fourth one in the list. Because it's usually pretty easy to send it to like someone you know who needs it, and then maybe a person you don't know, but they still need it. But you yourself is sometimes the one that's often overlooked. So you send love and kindness to yourself in the fourth person. And you can also imagine yourself receiving it too. So I like to kind of imagine just the energy sort of like washing over the body, just infiltrating all of the cells and just filling us up with that energy. And then finally, you just send love and kindness out to the world in general, because Goddess only knows it needs more of that, right? So if we all practiced something like this daily or nightly, can you imagine what we could do with that energy? And how desperately the world needs it, and how desperately, and how much of an effect that could have on the world. So practice this several times a week, or when to enhance your feelings of self-love whenever you're feeling kind of low. I love doing this meditation. It can be a real lifter and a pick-me-up. Okay, so then that was idea number 8, practice love and kindness meditation. All right, so I am going to now turn to the Q&A and just pausing to say hi to those who are in the chat. So I see Amy's also joined us. Sonia said a love milkshake. Yes, absolutely. You can do any beverage can be used for the love elixir. I love the idea of a love milkshake. That's very cool. And hi, Jamie's here too, and Adam. Hi, everybody. So good to see you guys. So I'm moving into the Q&A part of the episode. So I've got some questions that were sent to me. I'm going to answer those now. But if you are with us live, go ahead and put some into the chat. And I see Kurt's also here. Hi, Kurt. Hi, everyone. So great to see you all. So let's start with these questions. And then anybody who's here live, drop those in as well. Okay, so the first question comes from Junior. I didn't write the name down, but I remember this one was from Junior. Okay, so Junior asks, what are the dates to do shadow work during a blue moon? And then there's the second part of the question. He said, what are the benefits of energy work on the anatomy of the human body, and what book would you recommend? Okay, so I'm going to answer all these questions one at a time. So the first one, he asked about the blue moon. So the blue moon is the second full moon of a month, and we have this phrase, once in a blue moon, which makes the blue moon seem like it doesn't happen that often, but in reality, there's usually a blue moon once a calendar year. Not every single year, all the time, but usually about once a calendar year. So that means that the blue moon's not quite as rare as people think. But our shadow work is not usually tied to the blue moon. It doesn't mean you can't do shadow work on the blue moon, but it's just not usually the phase that is necessarily tied to shadow work. So generally, the blue moon is used for wish fulfillment. And so there's lore that says that if you practice a spell or you perform a spell on the blue moon, it will add extra energy to that spell. So that's what I like to use it for. And so our coven, we don't always meet on the blue moon, but we've done quite a few blue moons. And we usually do like a wishing ritual during that time. And we will often call the goddess Iris, the goddess of rainbows, because she's also the goddess of wishes. And and so that's what I would do on a blue moon, but not really usually connected to shadow work. But like I said, shadow work can be done anytime you want. Most of the time, shadow work is connected to the second half of the lunar cycle, from full moon to new moon, especially in the balsamic moon, which is the last 3 days of the cycle. Now, to answer the second question about the benefits of energy work on the physical anatomy, absolutely. Energy work can have great benefits on the physical body. It can be used for overall balance. So, if a person just wants to achieve overall balance, doing energy work can be very good. But it also can be used for anybody who's having like pain or anything in the body. They can be doing energy work as well. And so any ailment that you have in your body is connected to a chakra. And so if you want to know what chakra it's connected to, it's usually pretty self-explanatory. So for example, like we have breathing issues, right? Asthma, that's going to be connected to the heart. If we're having like a sore throat, if we have TMJ, that's going to be connected to the throat. We're having tight hips. We're having, let's say, anything to do with like the menstrual cycle, for example, or anything to do with the reproductive organs. That's all going to be our sacral chakra. Digestion is our solar plexus. Our legs and our knees and our feet are all connected to the root chakra. Headaches are usually third eye and throat. And so, and crown, it can be crown as well. So basically, any ailment that you have, you can pair that, you can match that to the chakra that has some kind of a energetic imbalance in it. Because the idea behind this is that if we are feeling something physically, that is also in the energetic body as well. And there are many schools of thought that say, that at least from the energetic perspective, that illness comes in through the energetic body first before it reaches the physical body. So by the time it's reached the physical body, it's traveled through all of the other energetic bodies first. And what it means is we didn't pick up on it, and we weren't able to dislodge it that way. And so now it's manifested in the physical body. So I would spend time working energetically in any areas that a person had some physical ailment. And that doesn't mean that we wouldn't go to a medical doctor. I think that energy work and physical healing and energy healing, they work hand in hand and they accelerate the process. So I would definitely do both. But sometimes you'll go to a doctor with a physical ailment and the doctor will not really find anything. And in that case, then I double down on the energy work. I'd really be working on that. And it's very interesting, when my asthma gets really bad, I know that if I do some heart opening exercises, I will absolutely feel better if I start to move the energy of my heart. And, when my neck is getting really tight or my TMJ is firing up, I know that when I do some work with my throat chakra, that I'm going to feel a lot better. So absolutely, when he says, when you ask what are the benefits of energy work on the physical anatomy, great benefits. Now, as far as the book goes, hands down, this is, I believe, the number one book on energy work in the West. This is The Wheels of Life by Anna Dia Judith. And it says here, like, I bought this 25 years ago. It says over 100,000 copies sold. This book is still, it's probably in the million by now. They've sold probably a million copies of this book. But this book is like, it even says a user's guide to the chakra system. And it goes through each chakra in turn, gives you exercises, background on how to work with that chakra. I cannot recommend this book enough. So this is Wheels of Life by Anna Dia Judith. So anybody, I recommend this for any witch. We should all be on an energy pathway to working with our energy. But you will find if you start working with your energy and you do it consistently, it's going to amplify all of the other parts of your craft as well. Okay, so I hope that helps with that question. So next question is from Ruth, and she said, how do you deal with grief? So some of the practices that we talked about tonight in tonight's episode are very good for grief. So for example, the idea of breathing the negative energy into the heart space can be a game changer for people who are kind of caught in the grief cycle. And so refresh everybody what that is in a moment. But the grief pathway is different for everyone. So there isn't really a hard and fast kind of recommendation. And it really depends on the stage of grief and loss that we're in at the moment. So if we're in like a really acute state of grief, like we've just lost a person or a job or something that was very, or a pet, something that was very meaningful to us, we might be in that very acute state at that point. And so honoring the grief can be our best bet there. Or really just allowing ourselves to express it openly, because the sad truth is that in the West, at least, it's kind of pathologized. So we're not encouraged to express it openly. We're kind of looked at as like, if you don't, if you're expressing it openly, maybe you should go see a therapist, right? They'll say, like, people will say to you, have you seen a therapist for that? And this is just our way of pathologizing something that's very natural. It's very natural to feel the grief after a major loss. So what I would tell people to do is, if it's very, very fresh, I'm not even sure that grief work is the right thing in that moment. I think that just sitting with the grief and also a lot of self-care. So just taking care of yourself as much as you can as you're passing through, the height of all of it. Now, when you are ready, there is grief work that you can do. And I think there are kind of three main sort of ritual practices that we can do surrounding grief. And the first one is honoring, which can often be done in the very acute initial stages of grief. And then there's the letting go process or ritual. And then there's also self-transformation. And so, kind of depending on where we are along that journey, we would fall into one of these categories. So, in honoring the grief, especially if it's like the loss of a loved one, a ritual in those first few days or a week after the loss can be very empowering, because not only does it help us, honor them, but it also helps us perhaps say the things we didn't get to say, maybe get some closure that we weren't able to get. And it's just all around very good to have some kind of a ritual to kind of honor the grief. And then from there, eventually you move through it into a place where you may be able to begin to let go of it. And what I always want people to know is when we say let go of the grief, we're not saying let go of the person or the thing you've lost or their memories. We're not tarnishing it in any way. We're just saying that, when we hold on to negative energy long term, it's never going to be of benefit to us. So if we hold on to guilt of any kind, sometimes there's a wide variety of emotions that will come up when we dig deeper into the grief. So once we've kind of passed through that acute state and we get to that, now I'm starting to process it. We really want to think about, like, what are the feelings that we're carrying? Are we feeling guilty? Are we feeling, that kind of thinking about what could have been, feeling nostalgia, like different things like that. And, in what kind of negative emotions and energy are we sitting with day in and day out because of that? Those are the things that we start to let go of as we move through letting go rituals in the grief process. And then eventually there's the self transformation that happens afterwards, and that can look different for everybody. But what I recommend doing is kind of ritualizing it. And what I also recommend is, like, so for the self transformation part of this, and this would be, I would recommend this after several months after the loss, and we've done the honoring, we've sort of started to let go of some of the negative emotions that we're carrying about it, and then we want to start to explore some shadow work, probably, because our grief, whenever we lose anyone or a job or an animal or anything like that, it's all connected to the griefs that we've experienced in the past as well. So kind of diving deeper into the shadow work when we're ready can allow us to take that to the self-transformation level. So I hope that helps. But I was going to say, so as far as practices go, I would do like anything for the heart chakra when someone's kind of moving through the grief, especially in the very beginning. So those acupressure points. So right here, coming to this point right here that I showed earlier in the video, or doing the exercise to kind of work to balance the energy of the heart. You can do this, and that will kind of move some energy through your heart that's gotten stuck and stagnant there because of what you're experiencing. And then also you can try to transmute the energy of grief through the heart space, and that's basically leaning into it, kind of bringing your emotions to the forefront of your mind, taking a really deep breath, and as you do, pull it into the heart. And then just imagine the vastness of the heart space, that vast ocean that it is. Just imagine it just transmuting that, just sort of engulfing the feeling, so the feeling is no longer there and it just passes. And will this help immediately? Probably not. Sometimes it does. Sometimes people find a really powerful change when they do that breathwork practice. But over time, that practice can also help, especially if the grief and the emotions are happening, frequently day to day. All right, so I hope that helps. Let me see if there are any questions here. I got a few more here, but I'm going to look at the chat for a second. So Amy said, I've been watching the video for calling the quarters. She's talking about in our Demystifying Witchcraft course. And she said, my question is, what color candles should we use for each quarter element, or does it matter? Okay, very good question. So there will be differing opinions on this. I'm going to share with you the correspondences that are probably most commonly accepted. So usually in the East, or for the element of air, we usually do yellow. In the South, for fire, we usually do red. In the West, for water, we usually do blue. And then in the North, for earth, we usually do green. And then if you're going to do center or spirit, it's usually purple. And so those are the colors that my coven have used. If you look at a kind of a book on Witchcraft 101, those are going to be the most common ones. But sometimes those colors are changed. So just know you may look somewhere and you wouldn't be able, you might find different correspondences. But those are the ones that are most commonly accepted. And I see Kurt had said below here, where is that video? So that video is in our Demystifying Witchcraft course, which is right now only really available to our Shadow Seekers members. They had the chance to opt into that, but we are going to have that available for others in the public very soon, hopefully by next month. The course is all ready to go. It's just a matter of we've got to build the website in order to present it to people. But that'll be coming very, very soon. Okay. But I am, but to also answer Kurt's question, I'm going to be doing a series of videos on the elements coming up very soon. Next week is the earth element. So I'll be talking more about elemental magic, including like how to use the quarter candles as well. Um, okay. And then Kurt had said, celebrate their life and don't mourn their death. Make some time, but may take some time, but totally worth it. Yeah, I totally agree with him. So it can be hard, when these are fresh losses that we've had. But celebrating their life can be the most powerful way for us to kind of honor them, right, and move through our own grief. Amy said, do you make the pentagram with each one? And by that, I think you mean the quarters. And I do in my own practice. Yeah, I do definitely draw in a invoking pentagram during each quarter. So there are different schools of thought, and there are series of pentagrams that you can draw for the different elements. It can get really confusing when people are first starting out. So I recommend just doing the general invoking pentagram for all the quarters. You just learn one, and that's pretty easy. And so I think we have it in a couple of other videos. I may show it in that video. Yeah, Amy, you said it was kind of confusing. Yeah, so there's a part in the video she's talking about where it shows all the different pentagrams. So what I would recommend people do, if they're calling the quarters, is just do just the general invoking pentagram. So you start at the top, and then this is all going to look backwards on camera to you. So I'll just say it through words. And so then you're going to draw a star. You're just going to draw down to the lower left. And then from there, you're just drawing a star. And that would be the invoking pentagram. And that's what I would use on each of the quarters, as I call it. So start at the top, and then you're just going to draw down to the lower left, and then just draw the star from there. But don't get tripped up over it. Just it's nothing to get too worried about, and you don't have to use all the different pentagrams. The general one is fine. And then Kurt said they do have different ways to draw the star to invoke different elements, and that is absolutely true, but can be very confusing for newer students. So I usually recommend that they start by learning the general pentagram, and then they can work up to all of those. And I do show those in that class, which is what she was asking about. And it is confusing when people first learn it. So just to start with the general one, and then you can work up and learn the others as well. Okay, a question from Felicia. She said, do you know how Reiki works, or a simple explanation for how it works? Okay, so Reiki is an energy healing technique, and people will be trained in it. So you can take classes, and you can get your Reiki 1 certification. You can move up to the other levels as well. So the idea behind it is someone who's trained in Reiki will use gentle hand movements to essentially move energy in your body for you, or it can be practiced. You can do self Reiki as well. And so it goes along the line. It has a similar idea to using acupressure or acupuncture, in that, like I said, we go to an acupuncturist, their job is to move energy that has become stuck or stagnant in areas of the body, which is also the same goal that we have when we're working with the chakras. So when we're doing like that energy exercise I showed you guys, so this one for the heart, it has a similar idea. We're going to be moving energy through the body, but Reiki is another way that we can do it. And so the practitioner will usually hold their hands over a part of the body for a period of time, oftentimes several minutes. And during that time, they may feel, at least when I do it, I usually feel like kind of a heat or a tingling. I usually feel like heat or like pulsing, but different people feel like tingling in their hands. And the idea is that we're basically transmitting the energy through us into the body of this person to help them move the energy. And so many practitioners of Reiki will find that when they have kind of worked on an area and it's time to move to the next area, that sensation will stop. And that's sort of the indication that it's time to move to the next part of the body. If you're receiving Reiki, you wouldn't know any of that. You would just, you would be receiving the session, and then you're not even necessarily knowing that they've moved to another part of the body. And sometimes when you're receiving Reiki, you don't feel anything at all, and sometimes you do. It depends on how sensitive you are to the energy. But it's a very effective, I think it's a very effective technique that can be used in addition to the massage and acupressure or acupuncture to move energy through the body. And what I would recommend is if you're interested in learning about Reiki, consider just getting your Reiki 1, because there's many places online where you can get it. In Body Mind Witchcraft, Kurt had just asked a question earlier in the week, I believe, about where to find a good Reiki teacher, and people left some comments with some good recommendations in there. And so I would recommend getting your Reiki 1. That's how I learned about it initially. And when you get your Reiki 1, you'll learn how, you'll learn the hand positions, you'll learn the background of Reiki, and you'll learn how to give Reiki to yourself. And then if you become really interested in, then you can move up and get your Reiki 2, where you'll learn more long distance healing techniques and things like that. And I was just thinking about Jenny. She's here. I know that she's trained in it too. And she said, "I love Reiki. Doing self Reiki can be very helpful," and I agree too. And as you get better at it, you can give it to your pets too. I've given Reiki to my pets. Kurt said Melissa Crowhurst at Endemy is good. So I would just take a recommendation from somebody else. Unfortunately, I can't give one because the person I learned it from was in person in Sedona, and she doesn't. I don't think she's teaching it any longer. But just find somebody who's got a good recommendation like that, like Kurt said, Melissa Crowhurst. Find somebody and learn from them. But it's a great, if you're interested in energy, I think it's it's a complementary practice to all of the energy work we're doing with chakras and everything. Okay, so next question is from Pamela. She said, "I'm cleansing a tool. Do I consecrate the element before using it to consecrate my tool, or is that overkill?" Okay, so it's a great question. So we can consecrate anything. Consecrating is just essentially we're setting something aside for a specific purpose. That's the definition of consecration. So we're saying, like, for example, let's say we have an athame, and a person who's non-magical might look at an athame and just say, "Oh, that's a pretty knife," right? But we know it's a magical tool. So when we're consecrating it, we are basically setting it aside. It's no longer a knife. It's our athame. It's an extension of ourselves where we can send out and direct energy with it. And so sometimes people will consecrate or will cleanse and consecrate their tools through the 4 elements. It's probably the most common practice to do. And I'm just giving a little background for anybody who is listening, and then I'm going to answer Pamela's question. Um, so, so we would cleanse this tool, and so perhaps we might do it through the 4 elements. So we might sprinkle salt on it to kind of cleanse it through earth, and then sprinkle some water to cleanse it through the element of water. We might run it through a flame or above a flame for fire, and then for air, we might blow on it, for example, or put some smoke around it. And so to add an extra level to this, though, we can actually consecrate all of those elements before we do this practice with the cleansing. And so you will actually say some kind of an incantation. And it's essentially what you're doing is you're taking, so let's say, for example, a bowl of salt. So you just put a bowl of salt on the table, and someone's going to say that's a bowl of salt. But we, as witches, we want it to represent the element of earth. So through consecration, we're saying we're taking this specific salt and we're setting it aside, and we're setting it for this intention of cleansing something, or making it sacred, essentially. And so you absolutely can consecrate all your elements first, and then use those to cleanse and consecrate the tool. So now Pamela's question is, do I have to, do I do that, or is that overkill? I think it's totally up to you. So maybe if you're getting a tool for the first time, maybe you do. Maybe you want more of the ritualistic ceremony, you want the extra level to it. But if you're just, say you've used the tool somewhere, or it was in a place, there's maybe some negative energy there, and you just want to kind of quickly cleanse it again, you don't have to go through the whole process of consecrating the elements in order to use them for your consecration. So it's really, to answer the question, it's really up to you. It's what level of this do you want? And there's really not a right or wrong way. You don't have to consecrate the elements in order to use them for consecrating tools, but you can if you'd like. Okay. And then Colleen had said, I heard about shadow elements based on the zodiac sign. And she said, chaos, void, darkness, oblivion. Is this tied to shadow work? And can you speak to what they mean? Okay, so I don't want to disappoint anyone because I'm not really going to be able to speak to what these mean. So, from my opinion, I've seen a post that goes around and says this, that what's your the shadow element of your zodiac sign, and it lists these four things. And so we may have actually seen the same post. It goes around a lot. I think that that post is entertaining. It's on par with like what weather is for your zodiac, what animal is connected to your zodiac sign. It's those are really fun and interesting and entertaining posts, and they give us something to think about. And sometimes we're like, wow, we really resonate with that, and I love all that stuff. But as far as the shadow work that we're talking about in this group, it doesn't really have any connection to whatever these shadow elements of the zodiac are. So that's my best answer for that question. Now, there are shadow archetypes that we can work with, and those are essentially like manifestations of energy that we can embody or others around us can embody, and working with those is absolutely part of shadow work. And so those can, I think I talked about those in a previous episode, so we can work with um, just coming to the top of my head, like let's say there's the archetype of the ruler or the leader. And so a person might find themselves in a position where they lead others. And that can be as simple as, being the head of a household, right? And so there's a light side of that archetype, which are think of all the positive qualities of a leader. And then there's the negative or the shadow side of that archetype, which are the leader can become a dictator. They can have power over rather than power with the others. And so when we notice the archetypes within us, we can look at their shadow side to learn more about our own shadow aspects, and that can be valuable information for our shadow work. But as far as these shadow elements for the zodiac, not really connected to shadow work, but definitely very fun and entertaining. Okay, so I hope that helps. And then Valerie said, is there something big? She said, is something big going to happen? I know this year is all about new opportunities, but the repeating numbers, the frequent visits, it's definitely a lot. So to answer the question, is something big going to happen? Well, something big can always happen. Like every single cycle has the potential for big change, right? And as we work through this path, we're more likely to experience things like Valerie is experiencing, repeating numbers or whatever it is, whatever way our guides connect to us through signs and symbols, synchronicities out in the world, messages from others. Sometimes those messages come through just simple conversation with a person who's serving as a conduit. Our guides can actually literally send a message through another person. That person won't even know it, but that message resonates with us. It's almost as though they were speaking directly to us. And so when we notice those things being amplified, it usually means number one, we're in a pretty good place because we're seeing the signs around us. So when we're not seeing them, it usually means that we've got some energy work to do. If we're not really seeing the path, we're not really seeing any guidance, my first thought would be go to do some energy work and see if that shakes things up. But if you're seeing them, like Valerie is, I wouldn't be concerned about it. It's just the universe is conversing with you. And I like to think of it as kind of like a tap on the shoulder or a nod or like a thumbs up. Hey, I see you, I got you. We're communicating with each other. The universe is holding you, we see you. And so also sometimes people will notice more of that when they're kind of evolving up to the next spiritual level. So all of this a very, very good thing. So yeah, is something big going to happen when you start seeing things like that? Probably. So, my best advice is just kind of be prepared for it. Try to really balance your energy as best you can so that when that big thing happens, you're doing so from a more elevated place as well. All right, I hope that helps. And let's see if there's anything else. I don't see any other questions in the chat. I'm just going to tell you what's coming up. And then if anybody has any lingering last questions, put them in the chat now. I did want to mention too, if anybody has any ideas for future episodes, I'm always looking for ideas for future episodes. You can always send them to me, email them to me, aislinlumen at bodymindwitchcraft.com, or DM me, or put them in a chat somewhere. So coming up, let's see here. So next week, like I mentioned, I'm going to be doing an episode on the earth element on 221, and then I will be moving through all of the elements after that. Probably not sequentially, there'll be other things in between, but eventually I will do all of the elements, an episode on each one. And then on 228, I'm very excited. We're going to be having a special Zoom workshop in place of Ask Aislin that night. You'll be invited to join me on Zoom if you'd like. I'm going to be presenting my workshop, Journey of Shadow and Light. Some of you have taken it before. I teach it a little bit different every time. So if you've taken it before, join us again. You might learn something new, or at least solidify some of the info. But if you've never taken it, I highly recommend you join us. It is all about how we use shadow work and energy work together on our spiritual path. So great workshop. You'll learn a ton from it. And then afterwards, we will be opening up our Shadow Seekers membership. And you'll also learn a little bit more about that in the workshop. So look for information coming up. You'll get some emails. If you're on our mailing list, you'll get emails about that workshop, including the Zoom link. You'll also be able to find it here in the Body Mind Witchcraft Facebook group. And we'll put a link of it on our YouTube for it as well. So I hope you will join us. That is in 2 weeks on 228. And then I'm not sure what's coming in March, but we'll have a lot of great episodes coming then as well. So I see another question here in the chat. Amy had said, does a selenite athame need to be cleansed and consecrated the same way as the others? A good question, because many people use selenite to cleanse other things. So for example, I have some selenite plates and bowls that I put things in that I want to cleanse and kind of rebalance their energy. It's up to you. I tend to cleanse and consecrate any new tool that I get, including I do have a selenite athame that I recently got as a gift. And I would cleanse it just the first time, but it's a good question because selenite itself is so cleansing. So it's kind of up to you. If it does it feel like it needs cleansing, then I would do it. But very good question. Selenite athames are awesome. Selenite wands are great too. All right, I don't see any other questions here, but if I missed anything, I'll go through the chat later and I will answer everyone's questions. If you're watching this in replay, you can put questions in too, and I'll come back through and answer those. And make sure you leave a thumbs up or a heart somewhere, just so we make sure we get this to the feed of more people. And if you're watching back later on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel and you won't miss any future episodes. All right, until next time, blessed be.